What's up everyone, Steven here with Neural DSP. Today we're going to go over the Multivoicer in the Archetype Tim Henson. The Multivoicer can add up to 4 primary harmonized voices to your signal. Depending on your preference, you can have it harmonized diatonically or chromatically by clicking between major, minor, and chromatic. And you'll notice that the knobs change between intervals and semitones when you click between the settings. If you're playing in the key of A minor, you can choose your voicings and it will harmonize all the notes to A minor. But if you need some ideas for chord voicings, we have a drop-down menu that will arrange the harmonies into presets for chords like triads, seventh chords, sus chords, and more. But let's start off with a single voice and harmonize it to a fifth above our current signal. Currently, we are on the level pan screen of the Multivoicer, where you can set your volume level and pan of each voice. You can adjust these settings in 2 ways. Underneath each voice there are level and pan knobs. Turning these will adjust the matching icon in the middle of the screen. You can also click and drag the voices in the middle window as well. So let's go ahead and turn off voices 2 through 4, and let's set our 5th harmony to center and level it just below our original signal. Now this is actually a great point to talk about the unison and width knobs, because it will be easiest to hear it with a single voice down the center. The unison knob at the top will create copies of the harmonized voices beneath the original voice, slightly detuned. This allows you to feel like there's a full choir singing that single note. Now let's listen to one voice pan to the center so we can hear what it does. I'm going to drop the width to 0 as well. We'll start with the unison at 0 and then I'll raise it up. I'm also going to drop out the DI signal entirely so we're only listening to the harmonized voice. As we increase the unison knob, you'll hear the additional copies start to become more present. But that's also going to start giving you a slightly chorused effect because the notes are going to be slightly detuned from each other. Now the width knob is tied directly to the unison knob. The width knob sets the stereo spread of the unison voices that are being created by the unison knob. Now we still have our single harmony centered, and when we listen to the width knob increase, you'll hear those additional copies of the harmony being pushed outward in the stereo field. Let's go back to our default settings and add in the other 3 voices and talk about the level pan sliders. These sliders affect all 4 voicings to retain the set panning and level ratios dialed in by the user. For example, if you wanted to pull all 4 harmonies down in volume while retaining the same volume ratio to each other, you can drag the slider down and it affects the voices without having to change all of the knobs one by one, which can kind of be a drag. An important note is that using these sliders also affect the dynamic range. If you set your panning slider to 50%, you won't be able to move your voice outside of the 50% range. Click the switch in the middle and you'll switch over to the detune delay screen. This screen and controls are going to be similar to the level pan screen. You have detune and delay knobs which will affect the pitch and how much time passes between the occurrence of the original signal and the harmony. You can control the voicings in the same way as the previous screen, either by the knobs or by clicking and dragging the voice around in the middle. At first glance, you might think that you'll want to keep all your voicings perfectly in pitch and perfectly in time with the original signal, but there are a few reasons you'd want to adjust these settings. In some cases, you'll want to delay the voices from coming in because this will not only give you a more humanized feel if they're clustered close together, if you space them out, you can create some really nice arpeggios. On top of spacing out the voices, detuning them can create a wider stereo field. Now there's a point where it can become a little bit too much, but that's going to be up to your subjective taste. So let's go ahead and close this up, and I'm going to detune some of my notes. As you've already noticed, you have the sliders which will affect the ratios of the relations between the voices, as well as affect the dynamic range of these voices. On default, each of these sliders is at 0%, so you'll have to click and open them up so you can change the timing and pitch of the voices. Probably one of the coolest things about the Multivoicer is the ability to affect the harmonies based on MIDI sent to the Multivoicer. You can set this up in a few different ways. In standalone, you can go to your audio settings and select your MIDI input device, go to the Multivoicer and click the MIDI button. You'll notice that the harmony knobs go away since the MIDI is determining the notes. You can also set this up within a DAW, which is what I'm going to demonstrate. Route your MIDI track to the plugin and the Multivoicer will take care of the rest. So you see that I've set up my MIDI track here, and I've routed this to my Archetype Tim Henson, channel 1. We go over to here and we click the MIDI button. My voices go away. Now I've set this up as just a very simple 2-5-1 chord progression. That sounds pretty cool, so let's go ahead and actually take my DI and drop this down a little bit so you hear more of the harmonized voices. I'm actually really excited to see what people use with MIDI controls on vocals. I think that's actually going to be one of the strengths of this Multivoicer, is using it on vocals. Now let's go over some of the global controls. The tuning section of the Multivoicer is the tuning reference for the harmonized voices. I cannot stress how important it is that your instrument is in tune with whatever reference frequency you've selected. Otherwise, nothing is going to sound correct. The quantize function will always interpret the harmonized voices into the key that is selected. So if you had A major selected and played a chromatic scale, the Multivoicer will still interpret the harmonies into A major. Be careful when playing with a wide vibrato, as it will take your notes and move them to the closest note available, so you'll hear your notes step between notes. The tone knob is a filter for the harmony voices. This will only affect the harmonies and will do nothing to the original signal. Thank you so much for checking out this video. What are you most excited about using the Multivoicer on? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.